Hi, everyone. So today we're going to look at just some adjustment layers and some layer masks again here, lighting and color effects to try to recreate the Nashville filter on Instagram. So just not a overly difficult exercise, but just an interesting one and plays with light and that kind of stuff. So should be useful to you down the long run. First things first, of course, we're going to duplicate our original file and call it after. And on our layers panel, we're going to unlock the pixels. And the next step we want to do is we want to create a new layer, a fill layer. So I'm going to come up here and say solid color. And I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to replace my red, blue, and green here. So I'm going to make red 247. I'm going to make my green 217. And I'm going to make my blue 173. Once I have that, I'll hit OK. Okay, and the next step here is I'm going to select multiply for the effect. And again, just so you guys can see, that just gives it a little bit of a denser look. Okay, opacity can stay at 0. Next, we want to go to the layers and do a hue and saturation layer. So another adjustment layer, hue and saturation right here. And we'd like to adjust our sliders. Our hue would be -14. Our saturation layer would be -22. And our lightness stays at 0. We don't want to toggle the colorize, okay? So you can close that. And again, just for that effect, nice pink, deep pink tone. Our next layer we want to do is an adjustment layer for brightness and contrast. So we're going to go up to adjustment layer, and we're going to do brightness and contrast. You want your brightness at +18 and your contrast at -36. And this just gives us a nice sort of, soft light going on here in the background. I'm also going to zoom Control or Alt and mouse wheel in just to give myself a little bit bigger picture here. Okay, so once you've done the adjustment and brightness layer, what we're going to do is create a brand new layer, blank, and we're going to take a sample with our eyedropper, or you can hold Alt down and take a sample of the blue, any of the blue. I'm going to take a darker blue sample, I think, kind of a grayish blue. Actually, maybe I'll get that blue there. Looks a little better. And I'm going to fill this layer with that blue. So I'm just going to do that by taking the layers off, and I'm just going to fill this layer. And what I'd like to do with that is I would like to create a layer mask. So I'm going to add that as well. Alrighty. And I'm going to flip that over and to black. So white, remember, will add pixels. Black will remove pixels. We're not actually dealing with black and white. And I'd like to remove pixels, but I am going to just fill it one more time. If I just undo that, get back to my layer mask, I'm going to fill it so that it's not transparent. Okay, back to black and white and layer mask. And now I take my brush and my low opacity, and I can kind of color in or remove. I'm removing this color from the picture, as you can see. Okay, removing this color from the picture. And if I add the other background layers, you'll see that. Removing this color from the picture. Now, I kind of want to remove it around the sky a lot, almost entirely. So I'm going to increase my opacity and just get rid of that up to where my pinks and reds are. And I don't want to do it entirely here. I want to just lower it a little bit more and just keep a little bit of blue in the picture. One swipe across, guys, will give you, a bit of a film of that blue. 2 swipes will pretty much eliminate it. So be careful what you do. I want my blue up here to kind of really stay where it is. Just nice light. Once or twice I'm clicking, that's it. Just to keep a lot of that blue hue in the picture. Give it a nice look. And again, down here, as you can see, I'm quickly changing that. But as you can see, when I take that off, and to paint it back in, I would say white, low opacity, and just creep it in, where you want it. Just creep it into the waves, get it in there, get some blues. Definitely into the sky. Okay, so we got a nice looking effect going on. I'm just going to now do the second one. So the next step is to do this with a red sample from the same one. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to say new layer, and I'm going to alt click on one of the pinkish reds, probably something lighter, I think, orange or red, something like that. And now I'm going to, I would avoid the yellow, by the way, just try to get a red in there. Now I'm going to fill that layer with red. Make sure that's completely filled, add my layer mask, bring these back, and get my brush on. And I'm going to bring that up pretty high again to eliminate and make sure that I'm on black to erase these pixels from my blue areas. Okay, if I can remember where they are. I can do that too by lowering my opacity. Alrighty. And just to make it look a little less ridiculous, creep my red up here to, I'm just gonna accentuate that a little bit more, get a little more red on the sand. And that's removing. Okay. Nice soft light. I'm gonna increase my brush here and do a little bit of the middle. And I'm gonna go back to this one, do the same thing. Just to blend it in, as you can see that effect. Just very, very subtle. Okay. So now that that's done, get up to that last layer there. And what we want to do is we want to merge these. So if you're happy with the color effect you've applied, then you can control click or come down to your bottom layer and say merge visible. It'll merge them all into one. And the next thing we want to do is we want to add a levels layer above this. So what we're going to do is, actually we're not going to add a levels layer this time. We're going to do adjust color curves. Sorry about that. So enhance, color, and I want to go to adjust color curves down here. And I'm going to get this effect. And what I want to do is just play with my sliders here. Just if you can see what the effect of adjusting these color curves is for. I can darken highlights, I can backlight, I can increase midtones, increase contrast. So my line graph should kind of rise up, plateau, and then rise up again in the end. That should be the end effect. Just to give it a really nice soft look. And again, I can darken highlights and then play with it here. It's too much there, obviously. Brightness, adjust highlights, so on and so forth. Adjust shadow, that gives us a softer look. When you're satisfied, you are done, and we hit OK. And our end effect is here. We've got our Nashville effect from Instagram applied to our image. And if you look at before and after, quite a difference. Okay, this is a subjective part here. So you choose what you think should apply and how this should look. But generally, that's the idea. And if you can think of all those other kind of Instagram and phone effects you could apply, feel free to get in there and try a different one. But for this project, this little example, that is how you apply the Nashville effect.